So this is Thanksgiving Eats and Treats, or you can make this any time of the year. It doesn't matter, but this is specifically for Thanksgiving dessert ideas. What you'll need with you before we get started is all-purpose flour, baking soda, salt, ground cinnamon, cooking oil, sugar and brown sugar, vanilla extract, 4 eggs, room temperature, set them out first, chopped carrots, chopped pecans or walnuts, and raisins. Let's get started. And don't forget, before we start, preheat your oven to 350. So the first thing we're going to do is set aside a bowl so that we can put all of our dry ingredients and then sit them aside. So first thing first is put in 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And then next we're going to add a half a teaspoon of sea salt, or whatever salt you may have. It can be kosher or anything else, but sea salt is preferable. Now we're going to add in ground cinnamon. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And after the cinnamon, we're going to grab our whisk and whisk it all up. And make sure you don't have to go crazy with the whisking, just make sure you get it all mixed. And then after you mix it, set it aside. Now with the next step, you're going to grab some boiling or hot water. It doesn't matter, either or. And then you're going to take your half a cup of raisins and pour it right into the hot or boiling water and set that bowl aside. Allows your raisins to soften and get them all ready to be in the cake, so you don't hope that they soften while they're in the mixture and while they're in the oven. There won't be that surprise raisin that's still hard when you chomp down on this delicious carrot cake. Next, we're going to mix in all the wet ingredients now. So first up, we're going to have a half a cup of packed brown sugar. Now, I cut my ingredients in half with sugar and things like that. So if you really want to make sure it's sweet, put in 1 whole cup of brown sugar packed, and then you're going to put in 1 whole cup of white sugar. But if you're like me and you don't need all the sweets, or you want to make sure you watch the sugar intake, you can cut it in half. I only use a half a cup. You don't have to do that. That's just what I do. So the next step I did was an optional whisk. You can optionally whisk up your sugars. It's not necessary. I just do that to make sure they mix together. The next step is 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then after the vanilla extract, 1 by 1, add in your eggs. You should add them in and then mix them a little bit. I can't lie, I did forget to do that here, but that's quite all right. It still came out fine. But add in your 4 eggs 1 at a time and make sure they're room temperature, because the temperature of the eggs can definitely change the consistency of your cake, and it can make it like a paste. It can make it crummier. It definitely changes it, so ensure that they are room temperature. That's why I said to set them out first. Now we're going to mix it in on a high-low setting. You don't need to have this up high. It's not necessary. We're just mixing the sugar and the egg. We just want to make sure it's really mixed together, because this is our wet ingredient. So now that once your wet ingredient is mixed all together, then you can slowly start sifting in the dry ingredient. Once you start mixing in your dry ingredient, turn the speed up to a medium setting so that you ensure it doesn't become a dough, and then just keep sifting in your dry ingredient, making sure you sift it and making sure you mix it all on a medium setting. And do this until it's thoroughly mixed together, but do not over mix it. You can eyeball what's the longest time you need to mix it. I don't set a specific time. I'll just make sure I see that it's well mixed on a medium setting, because then it's sort of a slow churn, and a slow churn is the best churn. Now go ahead and add in your oil. It's going to be 1 1/4 cup of whatever oil you choose. Preferably it should be canola or vegetable. A lot of times when I bake, use extra virgin olive oil, so it doesn't really matter, but it does affect the taste slightly, but it's going to taste good either way. There should be a nice smooth consistency when you're done mixing in your dry ingredients. It should be sort of like a pudding. Nice and smooth, not too heavy, not too thin. It definitely shouldn't be watery. Okay, up next we're going to grab our carrots. We're going to have 3 cups of sliced, diced, shredded, whatever carrots, and you're going to put them in one at a time and then mix them up and continue to do that. Now with the carrots, I put in 3 cups, but technically this was just a 16-ounce bag of baby carrots, and then I put them in my dicer. So you can get the pre-sliced, pre-diced carrots, and you can add in more if you want to have the more carrot taste, because technically, although this is 3 cups, it's only 16 ounces since I diced up a 16-ounce bag. But you can definitely taste the carrot. It's still a carrot cake, but if you want more of a carrot taste, because sometimes when I make it for people, they want even more of a carrot taste, I'll add in another bag of the 16-ounce carrots. So that will give me 6 cups technically, but it's not really 6 cups. So you can add in more if you want more of a taste, or you can even add in less if you just want a hint of it. Now, if you're adding in walnuts or pecans, you would add them in now on the mix, and you will leave it on the same setting, or you will whisk them in. You only need 1 cup of finely diced pecans or 1 cup of finely diced walnuts. They are optional. I did not use them in this cake only because I couldn't find the bag. I had them where I had the bag. I think my sister ate them. She always eats my walnuts when she comes over, but they are optional. It still tastes like a carrot cake. And if you have like a nut allergy, you have to go without it anyway, and it tastes just fine. You're not missing on anything. Now, next step, you're gonna, yes, my pan is beat up, but that just means I use it. You're gonna take your 9-inch pan, or you're gonna take your 2 small pans, and you're gonna pour the mix into the pans. But first, lightly spray them with a sticking spray or whatever you use. I just use extra virgin olive oil spray. It works just fine. And even though the batter, I ended up pouring all the batter all the way to the top, because with carrot cake, it does not spill over. It bakes differently because you have so much going on in there. And as you can see, it's in the oven now at 350, and you're going to bake it for 35 to 45 minutes. You have to check at 35 minutes to see how your cake is baking. I usually end up having to bake it for 45 minutes, but at 35 minutes, I do check it to see how it's going. And after it bakes, you take it right out of the oven and you let it cool for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then you take it out of the pan and you let it sit on a cooling rack for another 15 to 20 minutes. I didn't use my cooling rack because I prefer to put my cakes on the upside down pan. So I just let mine cool on top of the baking pan. And once it's cool, you grab your frosting. You can do homemade frosting. I personally am not a fan of doing homemade frosting. I usually buy store-bought. But I will say that lately the frostings don't taste right. For the last couple of years, I noticed they taste different. They're starting to taste more like plastic and just not like what you thought you were buying. So my suggestion is, if you want to make your own, it's very easy. The majority of what frosting is really just confectioner's sugar. That's it. But grab your cream cheese frosting and you're going to frost it all up on the tops and the sides. I like to have mine swirled. I don't like to have it super smooth. That's how I'm doing mine now. And then once you do that, you sit it in the refrigerator to let it chill, because it tastes a lot better that way. Or you can just serve it as is, because it's still ready to go either way. And bon appetit, your carrot cake is done. This cake went so fast, I completely forgot to get a shot of the cake being cut up so that you can see what it looks on the inside. But you know what? It looks just as good on the inside as the outside, and it was gone within that day. Happy Thanksgiving! I hope you enjoyed this eats and treats. So next week, I'm probably going to post the lasagna video. Let's make some lasagna together. So with that being said, I'm your hostess and Empress, Nikki T. Thanks for visiting my empire. Deuces!